welcome to Words with Dr. Whitaker. I have the pleasure of being the superintendent in the city schools of Decatur. And on today's podcast, I have none other than our Deputy Superintendent, Karen Newton-Scott, and Assistant Superintendent, Jennifer Burton. Ladies, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I'm so excited about today. We're about 1 week into the school year, and a lot of great news and a lot of great things are happening. But we are going to dive in today to our strategic plan, which of course grounds us every year. But for this year, we have 3 focus areas, and one of them is continuing our academic success. That is a focus area that will always remain here in CSD. Of course, this year, we're also going to focus on our future readiness skills for our students. We will continue our capital campaign. And then finally, thinking about safety is never enough. So we will have some enhancements. But today, we're going to focus on our strategic plan, and specifically the strategic accelerator of student success in all areas. So in CSD, the strategic plan was unveiled in March of 2023, and it was called All in Decatur. This strategic plan has 4 strategic accelerators, and the first one is student success in all areas. This is where our work begins. Our work begins with all students. But our students work together with our teachers to build and sustain an engaging and inclusive culture. And in order for us to do that, not only with our teachers, but really with all staff, we must continue to look at high quality professionals. And when I think about high quality professionals, we are cultivating them, we are retaining them, we are truly doing what we say, hire to retire.
That's right.
Yes. And in order for that to happen, we must have an organization. The foundation must be one that is effective and one that is excellent. But today, we are going to take that deep dive into student success in all areas. When we think about student success in all areas, there are 4 initiatives underneath there. Delivering high quality standards-based instruction. Bullet number 1. Mrs. Newton-Scott, longtime veteran instructor and leader in CSD. What is encompassed in delivering high quality standards-based instruction?
There's quite a bit.
Okay.
Right? It's what our work is every day. It's what we get up in the morning and show up at the school door in order to do. It's the thing that happens before students even get to the school, on the bus or walking. It's the relationships that are built all the way through the front door to the classroom, where the teacher is poised and ready to begin instruction. As my grandmother used to say, in writing, reading, and arithmetic.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. And for Mrs. Burton, we talk a lot about this next word, the assessment. So what does this real bullet mean? It's meaningful and relevant, and we're using them. And I think it probably has some implications for what's going to be new for this year. So explain.
That's right. So assessments we don't just take tests to take tests. We use that assessment data to drive instruction. We use that assessment data to make decisions about what does a student need? What are they doing really well with? What do they need some extra support in? If you're doing really well in an area, then let's go ahead and push our students further. If they need some remediation and extra help, those assessments are going to tell the teacher, hey, we need to do a little more work here. So this year, we're really excited about our our work with professional learning communities, where we're really digging into that data in a meaningful way to help schools, teachers, even our district make instructional decisions for CSD.
Excellent, excellent. This third bullet, embedding college and also career and life preparedness in many diverse and culturally relevant ways. How are we doing that?
Well, that work, you may see that and think of kind of secondary schools where we are delivering high quality career courses. So through our CTAE and Career Academy team, we also have really strong coursework happening at the middle school. Really? So we already have students that are using power tools and building and constructing and engineering, even at the middle school. And what I'm really looking forward to this school year is bringing some of that work down to our youngest learners in K-5.
Awesome.
So through our STEM coursework, we're really making those career connections for our youngest students. So preparing career readiness actually starts in kindergarten.
And Mrs. Newton-Scott, there is something I think we have called One Goal.
Yes.
How does that work, and how does that help us achieve what we want for our students?
So we're really excited about One Goal. It's a program we began during the 24-25 school year. And this program supports students in the middle, if you will. Those students who aren't necessarily achieving a 3.0 or higher, but there are also students who are not failing. So they're somewhere in the middle, and we want to make sure that they understand what their choices are post-secondary. And so One Goal supports them finding their just right fit.
I love it.
Not just academically, but socially.
Yes.
Where are you going to thrive? What are your interests? And what school will help cultivate those interests above and beyond the academics?
Yes. And this final bullet, closing the achievement gap. We are closing the achievement gap of our students who have been traditionally marginalized. Our board has been very vocal about the achievement gap and how we must ensure we're not regressing into the mean, meaning our top performing students aren't going to actually not do well because we're so focused on students who need support, but truly all students moving forward in that gap closure. Anyone want to add anything about that?
This work is especially personal for me. Having been in Decatur for 30 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Having started my career at Oakhurst, where back in the late 90s, I'll just go ahead and say that, mid to late 90s, where city schools of Decatur looked very different. And so for the population of students that we are not yet doing our best work with, that population was the only population I taught for the first 7 years of my career.
Wow.
And we did amazing work and achieved amazing things for those students. And we are not doing that right now. And so it's a very personal goal that I have to ensure that City Schools of Decatur returns to that high-performing district for all.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So you're at year 30.
Yes.
But we are really at year 3.
That's right.
So we are embarking upon my third year here in City Schools of Decatur, and also Jennifer's third year. So let's talk about that. So one, I think the most hilarious part of our work together is probably demonstrated in what we are wearing.
Yes.
So when we all stepped out of our cars from 3 different parts of the city, and we looked at the fact that we are wearing a combination of one another.
That's
it happens
right.
all the time. More often than not, so much so that some people think we plan these outfits.
We really don't.
Nope.
We really don't. We really don't. But in order to get to that level of sync over 3 years, but really just 2, because we're only embarking upon year 3. How do we get here? How are we, because we're going to take that deep dive into student success in all areas. And you represent schools, you represent the principals, you represent the teachers, and all of what is so special about CSD.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Mrs. Burton, you represent teaching and learning, the design, understanding what is best, that science of reading, the curriculum, the instruction, all of those things. And in education, there could be a little bit of a turf war.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, we have lived it. We have all been around long enough and have lived it. So how did we get to where we are today?
I'll start by saying, as the veteran person on this particular team, it was very difficult to hear critique of the work that I've been engaged with and I've supported over the years. But I knew that there was something that we were missing and that we needed to listen to other perspectives about what that might be. And so we had to figure out our dance. We didn't dance very well year 1. We were bumping into each other, sometimes dancing in different places when we should have been dancing in the same spot. But I will say for me, we had the opportunity to go to a professional learning development together. And we were able to sit and hear the same things. And I turned to Jennifer and I said to her, I get it. I wasn't able to hear what you were sharing at that time, but it clicks today. And I think that was the turning point for our commitment to figure it out and to work together to make sure that we were articulating the work in a very cohesive way.
Yes.
And that we're also walking in that way. So I feel very appreciative for her. We have nicknames we won't share for each other. And we have our own special way of, talking to each other and kind of eyeing each other to say, maybe not so. And we can create that space for each other to jump in and then offer the expertise that's needed.
Yeah. I think there is just such mutual respect between us. I knew coming in that Karen was the baddest chick in Decatur, and I needed to be in her company. And so, but as I got to know her and the wealth of knowledge that she has, it just, I knew I needed to be around her and soak up everything that I could, and that I was going to figure out how we could dance together because I'm a good dancer. And so I knew we were going to have to figure out our rhythm. And through that mutual respect and knowing, respecting that we both have something really great to bring to the table. And so we could do that hand in hand. And I think we have a lot in common just in our leadership styles. Yes. And so we speak that same language. So once we figured out our rhythm, it's been easy for us to just, bounce off one another, push each other when we need to, say yes, say no, but figure out what is best for schools because we both have the same goal. Yep. Which is around student success for all.
I love it. I love that. And I love that the two of you at this point really have that rhythm. And I think we can see that rhythm in the data.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Yes. So it's the student success in all areas. So let's dive in. So now we're at the point where we can say, where are we academically? What is student success? And no, test scores are not the end all to be all. That we all know. But proficiency and demonstration of proficiency and above is really what we are striving for all students. So we have some data up here, and I'm going to just sit back and let my two experts in that data that have worked tirelessly walk us through from 2019, which was pre-pandemic, to 2021, which is an opt-out year or optional year for test taking, to 2022. And then in 2023 was 1 year, not necessarily the year that we were all together, but 2024 was that year when it was the three of us together, to 2025, where we are now. So we can talk about this cohort-wise. We could talk about this apples to oranges. And I know people are like, what are they talking about? Are they having fruit salad? But let's go ahead, take a deep dive into our end of grade math scores for the milestones.
So let's start by looking apples to oranges, if you will, looking from year to year. So we have on the far left, 2019's end of grade percentage of students who were proficient or better. And then if you look all the way to the right, we have 2025's proficient or better percentages. And you will see that from 2019 to the point we are today, that we have grown. In some cases, 10 percentage points, and in some cases, even more if you look at 8th grade from 2019 to 2025. And so this really excites me about the work that we have done. But just like you said, Dr. Whitaker, it's not only about test scores, but this is one indicator of our success. And I will say, based upon this data, we have seen tremendous success.
So, Ms. Burton, will you walk us through what it means to be cohort? So we've taken a look at the left to right, meaning just across third grade proficiency. What does that look like? But what does it mean to pick a cohort and kind of walk our viewers through what that means?
Sure. So when you look at cohort, then you would say, you could call it apples to apples. So you would slide down if you start in, you just pick a grade. So, let's say if you started in 4th grade at 2019, and you would follow that same group as they traveled through each grade level. So if you're at 4th grade in 2019, that was 69% proficiency. Then you see when those students were in 5th grade, they're at 60%. When they were in 6th grade in 2022, that's 67%. On down to 2024, they were at 75%. So that group of students was growing from if you go back 69% in 2019, you follow that group of students in 2024, they were in 8th grade at 75%. And so we get really excited when we're tracking that same group of students in that diagonal fashion.
Yes. And I would say that this chart itself really gives you the third grader their entire experience from what would be the opening door of Tally or Fave or Fifth Avenue to exiting Beacon Hill.
Yes.
And tremendous. So that really is student success, all students. But our board has been very, very in sync and wanting to know, what does it look like when we peel back the layer and look at subgroups? Not only is it our board, but this is something that we're held accountable for closing achievement gaps, or it's literally called that, on our accountability from the state. So moving to the next slide. Now let's talk about our Black students specifically, because that is where our improvement really, really must be. So who wants to take a stab?
I can begin there. As I said earlier, this data is very personal, and I'll just be honest. This is the data that I look at first before I look at any other data. And we know that it's not enough to just improve, but we need to improve by leaps and bounds if we are to close the achievement gap. So if you look at 8th grade, for example, 2019 8th graders for Black students, only 16% of those students scored at proficient or above on the end of grade math assessment. But then when you look at 2025, we have 47%. Now, that's still not good enough. We know that. It is not good enough to have 50% or more of our students not at proficient. But if you look at the difference between 16% and 47%, it is tremendous growth. And so that's what we're looking to achieve year after year. If you look, to your point, Dr. Whitaker, from 2023 to 2024 to 2025 for that same grade level, 8th grade, you will see that we are growing about 10 percentage points or more each year. If we continue on that trajectory, we will get there, and that excites me.
Yes, that excites me too.
Yeah.
Believe you me, believe you me. Also, math, talk a little bit about math and our progressions, changes, because remember, we've been here now for 2 years. We're looking at the 24 data and the 25 data, new standards, just talk a little bit about that, Jennifer.
Yeah. So in 2024, we implemented new math standards. And our district actually used the math learning plans that are directly aligned with the new math standards. And I think that we see in our data some real benefit from doing that. So that was a shift, and you see in our math data that continued to be the right move as our EOG scores, end of grade scores, have continued to improve. One other thing that shifted that year was around the offering of Algebra 1, or Algebra Concepts and Connections, but us old people know it as Algebra 1. That shifted into 8th grade as an option. And the vast majority of our 8th graders in city schools of Decatur do take it in 8th grade. So at least half of our students are taking that high school credit in 8th grade. So that also was another shift for us in 2024.
And that'll be good to remember when we get to our high school data, because many people back, I guess, in March and April, they weren't taking the tests that they had taken in the past.
That's right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So now we're oriented with the slides, with the data. So now let's go into ELA. Now, this is reading, basically. Let's talk about what we see here, what data, what are our trends, what are our strengths, what are our opportunities?
Yes, and I've got to take this one because literacy is near and dear to my heart. All of the contents are, but I have a special passion and expertise when it comes to literacy. And so I am really excited for our 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So the majority of our elementary students are showing that we have surpassed that pre-pandemic level, which is a celebration. We see in 3rd and 4th grade that we still have more work to do, and we're doing it. This year we're rolling out the new ELA standards along with Science of Reading aligned curriculum materials. So we are really excited about that. But we know that for our students that were in grades 3 and 4, during the pandemic, those students were in pre-K, kindergarten, 1st grade, kind of those early critical years for when students learn to read.
Yes.
And we also remember during that time that even though if you were in school, our teachers and our students were wearing masks.
And I know this is not about the science of reading, but talk about just a little bit, what does wearing a mask when you are learning to read, what's the impact?
Yeah. So a lot of times we don't think about, well, learning to read is just looking at the letters on the paper. But actually, it really starts with sound production and how your mouth moves, the shape that it takes, the placement of your tongue behind your teeth. And so what we know is that it's really important in those early years that students are looking at their own mouth. So you'll see mirrors in kindergarten and first grade classrooms. It's really important that teachers are showing that mouth production. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that. We were masked up. And so we are seeing some of that impact in our data for our third and fourth grade students still.
Okay.
So we talked a bit about how to prioritize the work, because within a school system, there are lots of priorities. And there are big priorities, there are smaller priorities. And so we wanted together to do, to name our priorities together as a leadership team. What is going to be the big lift that we all will undertake to ensure that we're moving the needle for student learning? And so in 2024-25, it was about facilitating this high quality standards-based instruction that we've been talking about. And so in order to up the ante on that work, we've added the layer of ensuring that we have data-informed PLC structures in order to facilitate that high-quality instruction. It's a little bit of what Jennifer was speaking about with the interoperable data system that we've all heard so much about. And then to undergird the work as system leaders, how do we support the big priorities that the schools have named? And you will see there how we've named those supports. And so we have to ensure that we have a comprehensive system that gives the appropriate assessments and access to data in order to support those PLCs. And so that's how we've named one of our big rocks for this school year.
And our next big rock?
Oh, yes. Our next big rock, last year was conducting regular observations and providing that consistent feedback. Our leaders, and even ourselves went through extensive training on effective coaching and giving that really meaty feedback.
Yes.
We are using the see it, name it, do it. So when you see something, you name exactly what it is, whether that's in the data, whether that's in the classroom, and then we are going to name and then do what we need to do in response to whatever that data is. And so this year, as we're moving into this year, really, we're continuing that work, but just adding the piece of the coaching cycle. So we know that teachers and leaders are getting that consistent feedback through coaching, whether that's Miss Newton-Scott coaching a principal, whether a principal is coaching an assistant principal or a teacher, but that continuous coaching feedback cycle is going to be really important as we continue to manage and change the work.
Yep.
Well, I just have one last question for you both. What can staff, what about our students, our families expect to see new or different in our schools?
I think, can I start with what they can expect to be the same?
Sure.
Okay. So I think family, students, staff can expect the same nurturing environment that CSD has become known for.
Yes.
They can expect that we are working hard for all students, that teachers have what they need to do the work, and that we have the right people in the right seats.
Yes.
And so what's different that they can expect is a different level of knowing where students are and being able to speak to that, having the right tools that tell us that, and then having the right people to help support us in identifying what to do next. I think they will also see our principals taking the lead in explaining these things a bit more, because we all know that leadership matters.
Yes.
And so sometimes leaders take a back seat and let others, teachers, instructional coaches, explain this work. But they will see that leaders are explaining the work to model and to show that they are also as knowledgeable and are guiding the work that our teachers are leading in the classrooms every day.
Awesome. Karen, Jennifer, Mrs. Newton Scott, Mrs. Burton, we have covered a lot of information today. A lot of information today. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being all in for all students indicator. Thank you for being on the podcast today. I look forward to being able to celebrate the continued work that we are all committed to doing for all students. And thank you so much for tuning into the Words with Dr. Whitaker podcast.